right, guys, you heard it. Jay Gruden says Colin Kaepernick was definitely discussed to bolster the team's depleted quarterback ranks, but they went in a different direction and are expected to sign quarterback Josh Johnson. Damien Woody still here with us. Max, I want to start with you on this one. Does this say more about Kaepernick or Washington?
Washington, of course. The fact that they would even say that and put that out there, I don't care if they're answering a direct question. Does anyone not connect the dots and say, huh, they just had this Reuben Foster thing blow up in their faces. That's a lot of bad PR. Mm-hmm. And now they're trying to throw a bone to some of the people among the group who might not be so happy about the Reuben Foster situation. Dan Snyder, by the way, Bruce Allen, neither one of those guys who are ahead of Doug Williams in the executive pecking order, obviously, came out and said anything. They sent Doug Williams out to say it about Reuben Foster. And now they're answering this question as though they seriously considered Colin Kaepernick. The reason I'm looking at my phone, Molly, is because I want to read you something that Bill Simmons tweeted out because it encapsulates the way I feel about it. Okay. I can't believe I don't use their name because, by the way, their name itself is a racist slur. And if you don't believe that, go to a reservation and say it to somebody's face, see what happens. I can't believe the Washington franchise isn't signing Kaepernick. It's such a forward-thinking, socially conscious, fan-friendly franchise helmed by such a likable owner, it just seemed like a natural. This is more about Washington than Kaepernick.
Who wants to pick it up? Damien?
Go ahead, Damien. Go ahead, Damien.
First of all, I just think it's laughable that Jay Gruden would sit up there and talk about, oh, we had discussions about this. No, you didn't. No,
I feel like they think we're so dumb.
Yeah, like you really trying to play us for a fool right now, thinking that y'all had these deep internal discussions about bringing in Colin Kaepernick. Y'all had no intention of bringing in Colin Kaepernick, okay? And listen, as far as Jay Gruden's talking about, worried about bringing him in on such a quick notice, Mark Sanchez was signed 2 weeks prior to the Monday Night Football game, and he played in that game. So there's no reason that Colin Kaepernick couldn't come in and if called upon, if need be able to come in and execute and be able to run the offense. He had a similar skill set as Alex Smith. Remember, they both played together with the San Francisco 49ers. So you don't think, as a coaching staff, what you do with your personnel is you fit you fit a scheme around the personnel that you have. And you mean to tell me a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who's taking the team to the Super Bowl.
But what about Mark Sanchez, Damien? Mark Sanchez. Surely if you have Mark Sanchez, there's no need for anyone else.
Listen. I have a lot of respect for Mark Sanchez because he was my former teammate, and we had a lot of success together. Mark Sanchez hadn't thrown a touchdown pass since November of 2015. November 2015 was the last time that Mark Sanchez has thrown a touchdown pass, and you sitting there as Jay Gruden, you're concerned about Colin Kaepernick being able to come in and adjust to the scheme and whether he would be the right guy to play. Are you kidding me right now? A guy who's gone to the Super Bowl, how many guys that's still in their prime, in their career, that has gone to the Super Bowl and still can't find work? And you gonna give us this baloney excuse, or we've had internal discussions and we felt like Mark Sanchez would be the better fit than a Colin Kaepernick?
Stephen A. Kaepernick can't adjust to the scheme because the owner's scheme is to make sure he doesn't play. How can he adjust to the scheme?
Well, let me just give y'all both, and let me just say this. They're obviously wrong. They're full of it. But this is more about Colin Kaepernick than the Redskins. And let me explain why, and then I'm going to give it back to y'all because I'm putting on my reporter hat here as somebody that has spoken to a couple of league executives about what I'm about to give you. I'm just going to give you all the information, and then I want y'all to take it from there. Y'all hear me? This is where I'm coming. Let me break this down. First of all, you have to remember in the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, the NFLPA lost what's called the Special Master Dispute Resolution. That's basically court oversight over the collective bargaining agreement in favor of a system arbitrator, which is paid for by both the PA and the league. If you recall, when it came to the Eric Reed situation, I got some notes here that I had written down because I had to speak to the executives about this weeks ago when Eric Reed ultimately was hired by the Carolina Panthers. He was brought on board by the Carolina Panthers, but he was denied entry by a couple of other teams. Remember that the system arbitrated, because if this was a special master, you don't have that problem. Damien knows what I'm talking about as a former player in this league. I know Ryan Clark does as well. The arbitrator, instead of a special master, because the arbitrator is paid for by both sides, said the policy in place permitted the teams to take action of not hiring an Eric Reed, for example, because we could sit there and put him or Colin Kaepernick, but let's use Eric Reed for the purposes of this conversation. The arbitrator permitted the teams to take the action of not hiring a Kaepernick or Eric Reed, et cetera, on the basis that he would continue to protest. So they have that right. Then we also take into account what's going on. The Supreme Court comes down with a ruling months ago permitting the states to take hold of sports gambling issue, and you can do that if you wanted to, state by state, if that's what you choose to do. Delaware, Nevada, other places have done that. They've ingratiated themselves with that. Why is that important? Because right now, these owners, that the ratings went up, the revenue went up 4.9%. Each of them pocketed about $225 million. If you recall, what are the owners concerned about? Money. Why does Colin Kaepernick matter with that? Because now that you can get a piece of the pie in sports gambling, if Congress supports federal bills to initiate that, what's the one thing that can alienate particularly Republican officials from supporting a federal bill that will ultimately facilitate owners and teams getting a piece of the sports gambling pie? That's President Trump going out there and running his mouth and spewing the issue about patriotism, hijacking the issue of Colin Kaepernick and protest the way that he did. So the owners are aware of this, and as a result, according to what I've been told, that's what's really going on here.